Dune Awakening has just released, and to make your life easier, here are some tips and tricks I wish I knew before I started playing. G'day, if you're new here, I'm ILLIBET. I play a lot of survival games. Conan Exiles is usually the main one, but now funcom released Dune Awakening. So without further ado, here are my tips and tricks to make your life easier. This game is beautiful. This is not a tip, but just so you don't have to go looking, press F6 to get rid of your HUD to make a quick screenshot much prettier without all that nonsense. But our first tip, our most important one, what I'm going to need you to do when you place down your base, you'll notice that there are numbers on the doors and the boxes, well, not the boxes, but the doors and your sub 5 console. If you go up to them and hold F, I need you to go to co-owner or owner, depending on if you have clanmates, probably co-owner, so you can upgrade your clanmates to that. You can have auto close or auto enable on foot. This one's my front door and I like it to automatically open on foot for me, but you can also disable that so it's not popping open all the time if it's one of your doors that you go past regularly. This is going to stop unwanted visitors, and that's kind of nice because they can go through your chests if you haven't also gone into them and pressed Q and go co-owner so they can only access it. Your first base will get you to abandon it, so I highly advise getting the stuff that you like out of it first. But you can also go along in the noob area and find a whole bunch of abandoned bases that might have loot in them. You can also just place down a sub 5 console of your own and claim said base. So if you are starting out, there will be actually some of the pre-access bases probably still about. But if there's no power and no console, there will be no shield and sandstorms will destroy them. So that's how they kind of get rid of all the nonsense that's scattered about. And if you're a nice fellow, when you abandon your base, you can also go along and unlock all of your boxes and make them public so people can access them without having to claim the base. Because one man's trash is another noob's treasure. Along with that, you're going to also make sure that you have enough fuel in your generators and generators in general. You can deposit fuel manually to them or go to your sub 5 console and press Y and it will load the fuel amongst them evenly, because you have to go to them individually. Otherwise, if you have more than one, the more benches you have out, the more generators you have, and you'll eventually upgrade them to something better. This is a bit of my newbie base just to show you all. And the better benches that you eventually get means you can get rid of the less good benches and save on some power that way, because stuff will end up being cheaper in the better benches. Not really a separate tip there, but just a bit of a bonus. Our next tip is water. Water is incredibly handy. You can eventually get some water cisterns to store it in and drink out of, but you also want to be, where's my inventory? Looking out for the litter johns. They are what store your pre-watery water, and having the blood bags on you and a blood harvester, upgrading them as soon as possible because you'll store a lot more in this one. Although this is a random recipe that you can find in later areas, but just in general. Here's the regular medium one, and you can see it holds a lot more than the 4 blood you can hold with the basic. Just going to cost you a little bit more resources. And the fancier blood extractor will extract more blood and you'll get going a lot quicker. So definitely get those things as soon as you can and upgrade to the fancier blood extractor as soon as you can, and probably have multiple of all benches if you're finding it a little bit slow in production. Obviously the better benches do it a little bit quicker, so if I was to have my advanced ore machinery here, I could get rid of both of these and just have that one for now and be patient, but you can eventually build multiple of all benches. Ones like this aren't too expensive and are going to make your life really handy. But you, like I did before, are going to have to extract the water or it won't purify more blood, and just pop them into your cisterns. You also have this pipe here, which is your circuit, which is all of the water holding capabilities of your base. And even if this is full, you can still deposit the water and it will go into your cisterns. You can also use a dew gatherer. So as soon as you get access to this fella, I highly advise that as well, because that way you can harvest dew manually from the little bushes about. Now, there is optimal and unoptimal times, and times when you can't get it at all. So if you press T, well, hold T rather, you'll get a whole bunch of information like the area that you're in, your shield, the heat protection, all of that. But if you look up in the right corner, you'll see kind of the time of day. It's essentially the clock in the game. And when it is in that kind of blocked out area, you cannot get the dew. The dew is bad. But see that little blue? That is good. Now we're going to go downwards and the blue's slowly going to disappear as it rotates around clockwise. Now that is the dawn. So you want to be looking out for the dawn, and obviously in the heat of the day, we cannot gather any dew. If you are under 1 water, you can actually hand gather the dew and just get a little sip there. I've changed my flying belt, so it's a bit sketchy when I land. But you want to be looking out for these little bushes, and they'll have a sickle on them when you can harvest them. But ideally, you want to harvest them in the optimal time to get the most water. It's actually pretty OP, and I'll put a little clip of me doing that in here compared to suboptimal time. And this is suboptimal dew harvest time. We just don't get very much at all. It's quite slow, but some dew is better than no dew, so if you're real desperate, you can do it, but it'll just use more of your power and durability. This is optimal dew harvesting, and we fill a container in mere moments. Compared to suboptimal time where we do not. Obviously I'm using a bit of a bitter sickle, but if you're wondering why it's pretty poor harvest, look if it says optimal or not optimal. The poor time is it's pretty poor. You'll see for yourself. Optimal time is definitely optimal. It's actually pretty overpowered. Along with that water tip, you don't want to be hanging out in the sun. As you can see, my bar there is going up, and that's going to make me drain water a lot quicker. You can hang in the shadows. If you look at the map, you can actually see where the shadows are going to be, and that kind of indicates the time of day too, which is nice. That over there is a spice bloom, and I could be risky and go get more spice, but the spice blooms can happen in the Valley Hugger Basin and sometimes quite close. And if you go in a little bit slowly, I'll put that tip in later. That was kind of a sub-tangent there. But you definitely want to be upgrading your tools and weapons ASAP to be able to get the most amount of resources like the dew or the metals or whatnot. Hang in the shade as much as possible. And another quick tip with the shade, if you are a bit hot and there's no shade, you can hop on your bike and you won't actually get hot from the sun if you're chilling. Which brings us to our next tip about our bike. Now you can go really quickly on the bike, so I highly advise making that as soon as you can to avoid the sandworm. You can have storage, a passenger backpack, or the booster. When going long distance, you probably want to have the booster and also upgrading the bike as soon as possible. You can get free damaged parts from running certain areas, like the caves sometimes drop some things like that, but boxes in these type of areas and killing enemies can drop weapons and cool broken stuff, but that's our tip for a moment. If you have the booster attached, you can press Q and just go really quickly. Not that this is a great example in my all-terrain vehicle here. And you cannot pick up your bike when you have storage in there, but the storage is really handy when you're out farming in these close by your base areas. You can quickly empty out the bike. When you are getting off, even if it's just for a moment, get into the habit of storing it away again. Because if you die to PvE events, bar the worm, you will actually get back most of your stuff, and your hotbar is usually that stuff. So it's much easier to go back to your death marker and get the other random things that you've dropped, which is usually your engrams and some other random harvestables. Also, it won't gain damage from a sandstorm, and you won't accidentally leave it behind if you get distracted and run away and realize, oh no, my bike's over there. Our next tip is always have battery packs on you. Even if they're the broken ones that you kind of get for free, you can repair them. Every time you repair them, you'll get a red bar here, meaning you can repair it even less next time, but you'll get ones that are already kind of damaged from drops. Utilize them because the durability on them lasts a really long time and you can save your resources, but hold multiple on you because the more things you have that use energy like this or this or this will drain your battery pack, and you don't want it to drain while you're on an adventure and you can't use your shield. You want to be using your shield all of the time when you're fighting stuff or going into a sketchy area. Remember to place a respawn beacon close by so it's much easier to get your random stuff if you do happen to drop. But also utilize all your other skills, like the ability to sling forward or whatever you've so chosen. At the moment, because I was harvesting spice, I have my quick run attached. But if you enter the desert, do turn off your shield because it's going to like insta aggro the worm if the shield is on. This is really sketchy. Actually, that's too sketchy. I got too much spice on me, but you know what I mean. If you're riding your bike, your shield will turn off as soon as you get on the bike, but it will turn on again as soon as you get off the bike. So probably turn it off before you get on the bike, just in case you get off the bike somewhere stupid by accident or whatever. And in that, you can also fly. Depending on what type of backpack you have, where is it? Equip, there's a couple of different ones, and you can also get damaged versions drop from boxes and mobs and whatnot. They do slightly different stuff, and you can get the fancy engrams for them pretty quickly, but keep in mind you can only make one of these per one engram you get. See how I've learnt this so I can repair them, because you cannot repair stuff if you don't have the engram for it. Learnt. Bit of a tangent here into this tip, but this is a tip anyway, so we'll continue going with it. So remember, if you want to make multiple, you've got to have multiple of these numbers. So I can actually make 2 of these, but it's going to cost me the special spice, which you got to do the big dungeony, well, not big dungeony, the big caves and stuff with the big boxes and do the outposts and such to get that. But some of them are really worthy upgrades, and some of them even have special stats on them, like these boots are giving me 40% less aggro from the worm. You can usually see what the stats are of the stuff before you make it by clicking left alt, and then you can see different stuff there. You can see what it costs to craft, but you can also, if it's got something like this recipe, hover over here and see what it costs to craft before you unlock something, and you simply do not have the aluminium to unlock it. But back to the original tip, you can fly essentially, and definitely take advantage of that with things like quicksand. Some caves will have quicksand and you don't want to touch it. It's really bad. So keep an eye out for this stuff and avoid it like the plague. Usually hovering over stuff gives you the description. Like the drum stand will attract the worm. This stuff will suck you in and also attract the worm. No bueno. Don't do it. It's terrible. Should be able to harvest some dune now. You also move a lot differently when you are holding different stuff. If you're wondering why you're moving around a bit, Unco, simply press G and unequip all your weapons. Oh, that worm just breached somewhere. How scary. And you can move much more fluidly. You can also press the same type, like 5 again, and it will unequip. But if you don't know what you got to equip, press G and it will re-equip your last one or unequip. You definitely want to take advantage of being able to fly. There is a bit of a cooldown period with some of your skills, but you can use the skills while you are flying. So it's really easy to traverse around if you time stuff well. But all of this will have a drain on those power packs, so you definitely want to be having a couple of them on you. Our next tip is to follow the Fman quest line as soon as possible. I've kind of been putting it off a little bit for doing other stuff, and I do regret my choices because this will unlock a lot of really good stuff. And this quicker you do it, the less stuff you have to lose, unfortunately, to say if you do accidentally get hit by the worm, because it is a bit of a mission between, spoilers also, some of these purple caves, which are where the quests are that you have to go to. So this can seem like a daunting journey, especially if you don't have a very good bike. Probably equipped with the booster to get across here much quicker. The more noise you make, the quicker the worm will attract you. He'll also, if you die by him, the worm, if you die by the worm, you'll lose all of your belongings, everything, your hotbar, everything. You'll get a one-time cutscene offering you to get back your bike, but it'll only be a Mark 1 bike, but at least you won't be completely bikeless. So there is that. Preferably don't get in by the worm. The longer you wait, the more cool shit you have to lose. Like if I lose this armor now, I'll be a little bit sad because it took me a little while to make it. But if I'd done the quests early on, I had barely any stuff to lose and I wouldn't have been so sad because I had backup stuff. But I do like to recycle a lot of things to get their random resources. The better the durability, the more stuff you do get back with this. Another little bonus there. So it is worth saving your crap, and especially if you get in by the worm, you can then take advantage of some of that broken stuff that you've gotten, well, the half damage stuff that you've gotten from mobs, and quickly whack that back on. For ages, my whole suit was just a secondhand gear that I was using, and a lot of the time this stuff, like I was wearing this for ages and barely lost any durability. Same with this one. And if you equip these things and you have the journeys for them or the contracts, it will actually achieve for those also, so you don't actually have to fabricate the things if you have a damaged version. So not only doing those Fman quests, which give you a lot of XP, but all of these type of journey steps and things will give you a butt ton of XP, money, some other cool things sometimes. Like every now and then you get like tools, grab light armor set variant for achieving that. And some of it's pretty easy, some of it's a bit of a mission, but always be checking the outposts and their contract boards when you get to them to get this good XP, decent money, fun free things. Definitely be doing the journey steps and the contracts, but focus the Fremen straight away to get all that really good stuff. And then you can do all of this stuff that I've smashed out. Like you won't be able to harvest any sand or spice until you get a compactor, which I believe is the second in the Fman quest line. Sorry for spoilers there. This is a recipe that I learned from a random drop, so that's fun. It gives me a lot more things. You want to be getting them done so you can get access to that stuff ASAP. Or like I believe it was the fourth quest line gave me this one, which I can make on my body, but I need a worm tooth and yay. Our next tip is about weapons and how to kill good. Keep an eye out and upgrade often. Those dropped weapons can be pretty dang awesome. I ended up making my own one of these because I used it a lot. The spit dart does do poison and it is a sniper rifle. You can get a lot of the people from a distance and snipe them off. And even if you don't get a headshot, they'll eventually die of poison if they're low enough level or your gun's high enough level. And when sniping, I highly advise targeting the guys that pop up their shield and run at you with a knife first, because if you don't and you aggro them, they'll pop up their shield and then you have to wait until they shoot you, where the shield will go down and you can shoot them. But keep in mind, while you are shooting, your shield will also go down. Where's a good example? So you are also vulnerable as well as they are. But it definitely makes taking out camps a butt ton easier. And do remember, again, always try to activate your shield. Another tip for kind of early on, which you'll probably be knowing if you're watching this, is at night, don't AFK in nonsense spots because these ships will aggro some guys. They'll suck you into a force fieldy thing where you can't move for a while and then searchlights will come and panic. If you're low level, you'll probably get murked. If you're a bit higher level, it's a decent blood farm, so you can actually just and aggro them to the top of your base. If you built somewhere where they scan often, like here, then they'll all drop down and you can attack them pretty easily, kill them off, and if you have to die, you can respawn at your base if you've activated it as your respawn beacon base. If you have multiple bases, then might not respawn there, but you can have, I believe, 3 bases. And another random bonus tip that I did forget to mention when taking out camps with the sniper rifles is the boxes generally take about half an hour to respawn. 45 minutes, actually. I think it's like half an hour in the PvP zones because they're a little bit quicker. And only one person can loot in the PvP zones, but in the PvE zones, everybody can loot. If you're with a teammate, make sure you all loot them, but only one person can juice for blood. Why is my stuff not working? These guys like to hide here. And he's dead very quickly. But yeah, all of these little boxes, some camps have bigger boxes with better stuff, but they'll take 45 minutes to respawn. And I think their stuff is 15 minutes, but it might be a bit quicker than that again. But the boxes are definitely 45 minutes. And the people also come back quicker. They come back 20 minutes or half an hour. Again, I'm not 100% sure on them. I've got to time them properly, but the boxes are 45 minutes. Unless they change that upon viewing of this, which I don't think they will. And don't forget to juice everyone that you kill for that blood. It will come in very handy. If you are somewhere far from home and you don't have any water, you can eat the blood for a little bit of a health decrease. It only lasts a minute or two, so you press T, you can see that it's 2 minutes, and you'll eventually get back that health. And if you have to AFK somewhere, it's one of the better ways to drink water. You won't get as much back, but in an emergency, it's pretty worthy. Much like the sand, if you see these crash ships, you can get some pretty awesome resources from them, but it's kind of scary because the worm is super scary. Keep that in mind. But yeah, kind of worthy if you don't be too greedy, or you know the worm's real far away. I have far too much good stuff on me that I need to hand in, so I will not be doing that right now. But sometimes they're pretty close. They're usually always in the drum sand, but they can be pretty close to safety. Keep an eye out for them. There he is, breaching right there. Or she. I don't know. Terrifying? Terrifying. Someone might have been over there trying to get that ship. Take my chances. Whoa! They might have just got fucked up. You can look around while you are riding the bike if you are a bit scared of where the worm's presence is. Oh, I'm super close, which is scary. Our next tip is come find these outposts as soon as you can, these trade posts rather. Not only do they have fun guys that you can talk to and get your guild quests occasionally, you can also find people to fly around, which is kind of like the quick travel. You will need money to fly places. But the more that you discover, the more that you can go to. You do have to have money in your pocket at the moment. It won't use the credits for some reason. Keep that in mind before you spend all your money at the trader. I do advise going to Hirokin and the other village as soon as you can. They do cost a little bit extra, but you can get some cool quests. You can find the bank there. You can find some cool traders. Depending on who you side with, you can find even cooler stuff. And you get to fly back for free, at least the first time. And it can make getting around the map just substantially easier the quicker you have a lot of those unlocked, and especially if you have to move base, you can simply fly there with your inventory and not risk getting eaten by a worm. Also look out for these contract boards. I have none at the moment, but you can hand in stuff and accept new ones there, as well as these traders. They will sell some of these rare engrams that you can get from drops from doing the fancy outposts and whatnot. So I do advise not buying them unless you're really desperate, because I got one of these moments after discovering this outpost. I was tempted to buy it, but lucky I did not. You can also sometimes find parts for bikes and different stuff if you go to the big villages. The towns like Hirokin and Hako Village, they sell other stuff like dune buggy parts and thornicopters, but that's going to be very expensive. But you can smash out those quests and save up money and do it that way rather than crafting things yourself or waiting for it to drop from a box or a mob. And unless you're desperate or you have lots of spare nonsense, probably don't sell stuff to them because it's not really worthy, but the demand will change at different places, so you could find making a whole bunch of those is worthy, or selling the ones that you found to him if you're not liking healing a lot or whatever, for an example. If you have been having a bit of trouble getting these things to drop from mobs or crafting them yourself, you can in a pinch buy them from here also, but they do regularly drop, so probably don't worry about it. And if you're a bit thirsty, you can buy cups of water to quench your thirst. You'll also get a trophy for doing that. Spoilers. But hey, if you're here watching a YouTube video about how to play the game, you're probably okay with spoilers. If there are sandstorms, I was going to mention this as well, you do need to find a shelter because it becomes quite hard to exist outside and they will damage you. You can't see, you can't move real good. If you are by an outpost, make sure you're inside before the doors close because you can't get back inside and you won't be sheltered. You can shelter in caves and some little outnooks and occasionally just like a rock outcropping. You like squat behind stuff. But I'm stuck here for a moment. And my final tip is don't put too much effort into your first few bases unless you really love living in this area, because it's way easier to have kind of outposts and build a bigger base later on. You don't need the biggest thing to store all your stuff in and have most of the benches in the beginning. And it will save you lots of time and effort. Focus on those journeys instead and moving on to those better areas. Oh my god, why are you so scary, Sandworm? I might not cross here, to be honest. Like, we built a little bit far away from any outpost, which was a bit annoying. Probably build something near an outpost, but not right next to it. Don't be that guy blocking a path. But our other base is over here, which again, I wish I built it a little bit further over here, but you get a bit scared that you don't want to lose your progress. Always place down a respawn beacon if you're a little unsure of the area. Avoid these red things. But you'll definitely thank yourself later when you haven't popped a whole bunch of effort into these things, but you do probably want a base in a few areas just so it is easier to go back and get other resources, because there's no iron in the next area. For instance, I can get lots of stuff for steel and making the cobalt paste and whatnot, but I can't actually have any iron, so I need to come back here. Once you've got an ornithopter, again, that's way easier, but the fast travel does help. And yeah, just don't put too much effort into that first base and discover as many locations as quickly as you can. So venturing is a good idea because you'll get XP every time you discover a location. And sometimes you get extra quests. This is one of the trial caves, but I'm gonna get myself some iron on my way home. The better the tool, the more you harvest. And make sure your inventory is not full, especially with rare resources, because you won't get the full amount. And sometimes you gotta jump up here. And with that rare resource, say if it's an aluminium rock and you haven't found very many, you might only get like one from harvesting if you are super full, and that'll be devastating because you might not see another one for a minute. Like that time I only got 45 iron ore, and that's sad compared to the 100 or so I can get with this guy. I'm ILLIBET, and these have been my top tips for making playing Dune Awakening a little bit easier in your first few days. If you have found this information informative, smash that like button and consider subscribing if you're not already. It does mean a bunch, and I'm looking forward to reaching my 10k subscriber goal sometime soon, with the help of all you fine folk. Until next time, check out one of my other guides. I'm sure I've missed a bunch here, and I'll be making extra guides. So do keep a lookout for those videos, and I'll be making some shorts as well. Until next time, I hope you have an excellent day, evening, night, morning, whatever it may be, wherever you may be. Have a good one.